Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Sports in the Mitten, powered by Mr. Spots in Ann Arbor. I'm your host, Adam Biggers, Michigan and Michigan State beat writer for FanRag Sports. And before we get into today's questions, I'll get in a little bit of Big Ten basketball news, touch on Michigan, Michigan State a little bit. There'll be full-on previews as we get closer to Big Ten Media Days going on right now, and a couple of big announcements, coming from the conference. Talk a lot more about Michigan and Penn State. You know, we've talked a lot about Michigan's defense. Penn State's defense deserves some credit as well, so we'll get into that a little bit. Look at Penn State's schedule too, because this is a big game for Michigan. This could be an even bigger game for Penn State, though, if you look at what's next for the Nittany Lions. So definitely kind of tough sledding, I guess, for lack of a better term for that. And so I'm going to get into the chat room, answer your guys' questions. Before I do that, I want to remind everyone you can find the audio-only version on iTunes. Just search Sports in the Mitten. It's on Google Play as well, and the FanRag Sports Blog Talk radio channel. So if you're not watching the live stream, or if you just want the audio-only version, go ahead and go there. If you like the live stream, please like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And who's first to comment today? One already got in there. Let's see. It is Jeremy Turner. What's up, Jeremy? How you doing? And Mike Sobrowski. Hey, Mike. What's up? Hey, guys. And real quick, before we start today, our comment section's pretty clean, you know, and the live chat and the actual comment section themselves. But there's a problem with Nittany America, and I have no problem with opposing views, right? I mean, most of you guys are Michigan fans. There's a couple Michigan State fans, so we obviously center the conversations on those two schools. And we talk about their opponents as well. And if someone wants to come in and they want to talk about, you know, Penn State, and that's fine with me. But Nittany America's been kind of harassing people. The comments went from borderline trolling to now they're just kind of lewd and nasty. A lot of you know, Penn State scandal stuff. And so I'm just going to ask you guys, I'm reporting and everything like that. Please do not respond to him. It's just trolling, and you know, let's keep the comment section clean. So anyway, I'm done. Mike Sobrowski, internet problems. Are you talking about the? What do you mean? Is the picture quality, the stream quality okay? It looks fine on my phone, but it looks kind of fuzzy on my laptop. I don't know, or milky. And Mike, who I just missed it. It's Nittany America. So kind of been a first. Hold on, I'm saying sorry. First live went down. Yeah, Tim. I went live for a quick second and then I cut it off because the picture looked bad on my phone. It's like something was smudged on the lens, so I cleaned that off and it looks good on the phone. It looks a little bit milky on the live stream. So anyway. Guys, get into any questions. Like I said, Penn State, Michigan. Real quick before we do that, I want to read an announcement from the Big Ten. This came from the conference today in a press release, and basically, I'm just going to read it. The Big Ten Conference Administrators Council approved a change to the format of future men's and women's basketball schedule at its annual meeting last week. Beginning with the 2018-19 season, the men's basketball schedule will increase to 20 conference games, and the women's basketball schedule will feature 18 conference games. Under the new men's format, teams will play 7 opponents twice and 6 teams once, 3 home, 3 away, in a given season. The 3 in-state rivalries, Illinois, Northwestern, Indiana, Purdue, and Michigan, Michigan State, will be played twice annually, while the new schedule will also include a regional component to increase the frequency of games among teams in similar areas. Over the course of a 6-year cycle, 12 playing opportunities, in-state rivals will play each other 12 times. Regional opponents will play 10 times, and all other teams will play 9 times. The updated women's format will feature 18 conference games that will allow teams to play 5 opponents twice and 8 teams once, 4 home, 4 away each season. A similar model that emphasizes in-state rivalries and competition between regional opponents will also be implemented for the new women's schedule. More details, including each team's list of single and double play opponents for 2018-19, will be released at a later date. And so what's the big news there? It's a 20-game schedule. Michigan, Michigan State those kind of rivalries. Protected in one more preseason. I don't know. I mean, we like the preseason awards, don't we? Because I mean, it gives you a good idea of who's going to be. There are no guarantees, but I feel like I like them just because it's kind of a heads up, I guess. Of, okay, hey, if you don't already know, and there are really no surprises for this. So, Big Ten preseason basketball player of the year. Take a wild guess. Anybody care to guess on this? Jeremy Turner. Always hate that Michigan State play once a year in basketball. Well, they played twice a couple times recently, but if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I like it. I mean, you're guaranteed, and then only once, I think. What was it, like 2 years ago? But you're guaranteed two. I mean, that's a huge rivalry. I mean, Michigan State in anything. Michigan State hockey is big. Michigan State baseball really isn't as big because they play each other a lot. You know, it's not. In basketball, it's pretty big, obviously. Football, huge, but I think the Beeline and Izzo really enjoy playing each other, you know, coaching against each other. So, and the guess is Jeremy Turner, Miles, Casey Brown finishes with Bridges. You guys are correct. All right, here's the rest. Yes, Miles Bridges, sophomore, Michigan State, is the Big Ten preseason player of the year. 27-18 preseason All Big Ten team. Justin Jackson, a forward out of Maryland. Mo Wagner, a forward out of Michigan. No surprise there. Mo Wagner is going to be. I'm excited to watch Mo, and I'm excited to watch Michigan this year. Excuse me, watch Michigan this year. Miles Bridges, guard forward, Michigan State. Izzo. Miles told me last week during media day. Got like a frog in my throat or something. That Izzo planned to use him a lot like Denzel Valentine. So, Nick Ward, forward of Michigan State. Amir Coffey, guard out of Minnesota. Nate Mason, guard out of Minnesota. Scotty Lindsey, guard forward, Northwestern. Bryant McIntosh, guard Northwestern. Vincent Edwards, forward Purdue. Ethan Happ, forward Wisconsin. So that's your preseason team, guys. I posted it on the Sports in the Mitten page. So feel free to look on that, like that on Facebook. And now, let's get into the conversation. Mike Sobrowski, yeah, how's that Matthews kid transferred? I haven't seen him yet, Mike. But I'll tell you this: that Charles Matthews is going to be a big time. I mean, last year he practicing and everything. John Beilein and other players were talking about Charles. Yeah, Charles Matthews is going to be a big time contributor to Michigan basketball. And if you look. I mean, this is going to be a young team. A lot of new faces. Having some experience, not playing experience with those guys, but he's practiced with them, for a year. He knows everybody, but just having his experience is going to help, I think, kind of hold that together. Duncan Robinson's going to be big for Michigan this year in terms of experience and leadership, I would assume. So, I mean, you're losing Derek Walton, losing Zach Irvin, lost DJ Wilson. So, but yeah, we'll get into full-on basketball previews. I'll do one show just dedicated to that. So, Grant Canfield, hey Grant, thanks for joining. I think Penn State will overlook Michigan and start off slow because of the bye. Mike Sobrowski says, and this is in regard to Charles Matthews, he looked great with the little playing time at Kentucky, explosive and could shoot. Yeah, he was. Well, Izzo was really after Charles Matthews at one point too. I believe that Michigan State was like in Charles's top 3 or top 5. I mean, he was heavily considering Michigan State. Went to St. Rita in Chicago, I believe, and that's a lot of people were after Charles. I think, wasn't he? He was a 4-star, wasn't he? Not that always matters, but I mean Charles Mann reading a comment. Charles Matthews was a semi-big recruit coming out of high school. I mean he was a guy that people were talking about a little bit. So. Robert Protzman says Michigan's weakness will be rebounding with Robinson at the 4. Yeah, because I mean, I imagine Mo Wagner. I mean, he's got to be your center, but I mean, Mo might do a little bit of both. Mo's going to be big rebounding. Yeah, Duncan Robinson though. If you look at like a true 4, like Nick Ward at Michigan State, I mean, it's a physical mismatch. But yeah, well, guys, I want to talk about football. We'll get into the basketball. Watch for livers or livers. Casey, I was just thinking. Says Casey Brown. I was just thinking this. Does he say it livers or is it livers? I've heard it both ways. Both ways. I think it's livers. But yeah, Isaiah's gonna. I mean, here you guys are. Jordan Poole. Here's Michigan's roster, and it's a couple familiar names, but a lot of new ones. Brent Hibbets, Charles Matthews, Jordan Poole. He's a freshman. Xavier Simpson. He's a sophomore. I expect a big year from Xavier. He went from X to Z. No longer spelling Xavier with an X. Now it's Zavier. Isaiah Livers or Livers. Did we decide that yet, Casey? Anybody knows? Jerron Simmons, a big transfer too. Jerron's going to add a lot to the team. Luke Wilson, Mo, the other Mo, Muhammad Ali Abdur Rahman. I just call him Mar for short. I don't even know. I think last year I talked to Tom Wyrot. He's the SID for Michigan basketball, and I think that they said that they don't like that, the Mar, that Mo does not like. Anyway, Mo Wagner, John Teskey, Duncan Robinson. John's going to be a true center type. Mo probably a lot at the four. Duncan Robinson, E.B. Watson, Najee Ozier, Austin Davis, and Eli Brooks. So guys, we will do full-on previews of Michigan and Michigan State basketball, big-time basketball in general. So Frank Lucas says he's confident Michigan D stops Barkley. Grant Canfield said the spread dropped to 9. Jeremy Turner, why doesn't Michigan high school basketball get enough credit? Puts out some good talent every year. And Jeremy, you know what too? I mean, I live in Flint. I grew up just outside of Flint in Swartz Creek. I've lived in Flint, Genesee County, just about my entire life. And there's been a ton of great high school basketball. And I remember being at Swartz Creek. I was like 8th and 9th grade, and I started hearing about like guys like Mateen Cleaves, Morris Peterson, Charlie Bell, those guys. And I mean, I remember Monte Morris. I was at the Flint Journal. I covered Monte's first game at Beecher, and I couldn't tell if he was left or right-handed. Little skinny kid, I mean, I was like, he looked like a baby out there and just commanding the court. I knew that Monte was going to be a star, and look at him now. I never got a chance to see Kyle Kuzma play, but I'm just talking about the Flint area. I mean, we could talk about Saginaw. A ton of talent, Grand Rapids area, and of course Detroit surrounding areas. There's really good high school basketball being played in the state of Michigan, and there has been and I can speak. Flint area was especially like early mid '80s. Flint area was a powerhouse. Came back, back in the '90s. Excuse me, with the Flintstones. And that's not just like Mateen and the guys who went to Michigan State. They all kind of consider it. I'm talking about everybody. So, Casey Brown says, think it's like the Oregon. So, Isaiah Livers, okay. Mike Zabrowski, still talking about Penn State. Yeah, you guys want to talk about Penn State? I put it in the title. Michigan, Penn State. Yeah, I want to look at Penn State's schedule so far. Quality wins. Open the season 33-14 over Pitt. I mean, that's in-state rivalry. Just spanked Georgia State 56-0. The big road win at Iowa, and that's what I'm looking at. And that's an environment. I don't care statistics, anything. You play at Iowa at night. I don't care what team ask Michigan. I mean, Iowa is where dreams go to die, basically. And that was pretty early test for Penn State. They got out of there. 45-14 over Indiana. So, I mean, if we want to compare, just common opponent, I mean, Michigan struggled against Indiana, right? Michigan's defense let up a little bit. Tyree Kinnell actually told me that the secondary was told to loosen up a little bit, and he said they got too loose. So they, those final 6 minutes of the fourth quarter, and you see Indiana kind of capitalize on that a little bit. And then 31-7 win over Northwestern. So, and then this Saturday, Michigan, they've had a break, and then it's no big deal, just at number 6 Ohio State. And then the following week, November 4th, no big deal, at Michigan State, and that's to be determined time. That's a 3:30 game against Ohio State, 7:30 against Michigan. And then they finish the season with Rutgers, Nebraska, and then at Maryland. So, I mean, these next three games will decide Penn State's season. Whereas for Michigan, I mean, there's still Ohio State down the road, but I feel like there's a little bit more instant impact for Michigan. A win for Michigan, boom, that's the huge Kickstarter that the Wolverines need. So they desperately need it. They cannot continue this season with such a so-so offense. It's at some point. I'm not saying this defense is going to break, but I'm saying that you might lose game 11-10. Your defense might only give up 10 points, but you can't score more than the other team. So basically, which is kind of the whole point of scoring. So Grant Canfield, who's Penn State's backup at quarterback? I don't know. I do not know. I do imagine. I'll look that up right now. I do imagine that Trace McSorley is going to be a marked man, not implying Michigan's going to try to hurt him or anything, but I mean he will be a marked. They want to hit him. They want to get at him. Tyreek Kinnell said that. He said the front seven, the D line, those guys are going to try to get at Trace as much as possible. So, and that's something last year's defense just put out like what 9 quarterbacks or something like that, 10 quarterbacks on the year. We haven't really seen that this year. Trace McSorley's backup, redshirt sophomore Tommy Stevens. So I'm not going to pretend to know a lot about Tommy Stevens because I don't. Anyone out there who does, feel free to chime in. Mike Zabrowski, am I picking Penn State, Adam? Yes, I am. I'll give score prediction. I think this is going to be like a 2013 game, 2014. Something like, I just don't, 3 touchdowns I think will win this one, 21-14. I don't see Michigan's offense being able to score. I mean, I really don't. It's gonna take the lifetime effort from Michigan's defense, and I wrote about that on fanragsports.com. Tweeted that earlier today from my Twitter at AdamBiggers81. And a couple of you guys have mentioned, like, yeah, you said no chance, and I stand firm by that. But they're the slimmest of chances. I mean, and this has to be the ideal scenario, right? Michigan's offense has to play its best game. Michigan's defense has to play its best game. Penn State's got, I think it's the number 3 total offense in the Big Ten. I mean, we've seen the Nittany Lions throw up a bunch of points on the board, and yeah, granted some of the Georgia State 56-0, but I mean we haven't seen Michigan do that. I expected Michigan to do that to a team like Cincinnati this year. If you guys remember, I predicted like 56-6. Regardless of the opponent, you just had to see the offense just really flex its muscle. And Michigan's offense has not done that. The run game's good. It's adequate. It borderlines. I mean, if you get what you can get out of like Karan Higdon, there's not a number 1 guy. And I feel like, okay, it's good. Ty Isaac might be on fire one day. Chris Evans might rush 12 times for 97 yards and a 49-yard touchdown right up the middle. Karan Higdon might go nuts for 25 carries and 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, overtime touchdown, a 59-yard touchdown, and just have a monster day. And I think he was the first Michigan running back since like Mike Hart in 2007 to rush for 200 yards. So, I mean, when you look at Michigan's backfield, it's like, okay, there is potential. It has done enough. But the passing game just is not there for me. So, Nittany America, please go away. Thank you for commenting. This comment is not offensive or vulgar, but still. All right, that one is. You're gone, buddy. Everybody say bye to Nittany. Please do not respond to any of his comments. All right. Michael Ardelane. Am I saying that right, Michael? I mean, Penn State is solid, but this isn't Alabama. I guess we will see if O'Korn can make proper reads and the run game works. I think they have a chance. And Michael, yes. I mean, but that's ideal scenario, right? I mean, because we've seen John O'Korn's is asked to be a game manager, and he can't make mistakes. John O'Korn doesn't have to go out there and be star quarterback. He just has to go out there, complete, 55, 60% of his passes, manage the game, no turnovers. He mentioned, like a delay a game penalty. It's little things like that, and I don't know if that's with the offensive line or just a play when he's calling the play. If I didn't ask him exactly like what were guys just not set in formation. Did you lose track of the time? I don't know what necessarily brought that on, but I mean he can't have those little kind of mistakes. Michigan's offense has to play its most perfect game. And I wrote that about the defense because that's very much true. But Michigan, I mean, we need to see Michigan do something with offense before, and I say we, everybody watching Michigan. I cannot confidently say that Michigan's going to stand a chance against like Ohio State, or especially depends what happens Saturday against Penn State. But there's not enough offense. That's the point I'm trying to get at here. There's just not enough offense. So there's a chance. There's always a chance, but very little chance, I think, of Michigan beating Penn State. So, again, I think it's going to be like a 21-14 game, maybe 21-17, but, I mean, it's kind of a race to 3 touchdowns, I think, will do it. So, Michael Ardeline says, I know it's wishful thinking, but he's more talented than people think. And John is. I mean, I'm not knocking John or anything. John knows what his job is, and I think he's fine with that. And there's an interview on my YouTube channel. You guys go down and search that. Please like, subscribe, and share. And the subscribers are picking up now. We're really growing, so I appreciate it. But John knows that he doesn't have to be a superstar quarterback, and he's okay with that. And in the interview, he talked a lot about that. And I asked him, with Pep Hamilton, after a play, it doesn't matter what the result of the play, he's on the phone with Pep Hamilton, and Pep, he said, has been the most consistent in the building as far as encouragement and critique and everything. He said that Pep has just been very consistent and like logical the whole way. Doesn't get up, doesn't get too down. And Pep's been described, as all business. And we've talked to Pep a couple times. He is all business. So Grant Canfield says O'Korn needs to go 14 for 21 to give us a chance. Tatenda Zinyemba. I just don't know why Peters isn't ready yet. I mean, he was a top 60 recruit and has been in the system for 2 years now. What could possibly be so bad about him? He's balling out in the spring game. Tatenda. He's just, John O'Korn's better. I wrote about this too on Tuesday. John O'Korn is Michigan's quarterback. That's the end of the story. So I'm not trying to blow off your question, Tatena. I'm just saying. I mean, we've talked a lot about this. I know you guys want to see Brandon Peters, but I mean that's the gist of it, man. He's not ready. I don't know why he's not ready. I mean that would be. I asked Harbaugh during the conference call what keeps John at quarterback, and I think he thought I was trying to dig or spin it in a negative way, and I wasn't. What I was asking, because he said I was asking open-ended questions too, so and maybe I was so. Unintentionally. Sometimes if you be real specific with them, you can't be too specific. It just, I don't know, it depends. There's a fine line, I think, when it comes to constructing the perfect question for Jim Harbaugh. So, basically what it boils down to is, that's a question, I asked what's keeping John at quarterback, and I believe that it is, and Jim mentioned, experience. He said there's different quality of quarterback play. And I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but to me that just sounds like, look, John O'Korn's better. Just plain and simple. I don't think that, and more prepared. I don't think he's going to come out and say that because he does. I don't necessarily think he would, but I mean, he's talked about that John's, the way he handles it, that he's matured, that he's prepared, and that's about all you're going to get, I think, as far as a decisive answer. So, JM Coney64 says no classes this week, so they're getting focused if nothing else. Nittany America, didn't I block you? All right, there you are. I thought I just reported him. I blocked him. All right. No more QB talk, says Jeremy Turner. Michigan fans have to get behind John O'Corn. Jeremy, it's you have to, right? If you're a Michigan fan and you want to maintain sanity, you gotta rally. What happened all of a sudden when it was John's turn? I saw like these children of the O'Corn memes. My buddy's a graphic designer. I was gonna send him. If you guys remember the band Korn, Korn, I was gonna see if he could do something like with the Korn cover with John O'Corn on it. Just, I don't know, just screwing around. I thought it'd be funny. Anyway, but yeah, if you want to maintain sanity, you have to get behind your quarterback. He's not going to change unless, massive nosedive employer injury. There is still plenty to lose at 5-1, even at 5-2. There would still be plenty to lose. So don't torment yourselves. Just deal with it. It is I've been seeing, these death taxes things. It's death taxes. Harbaugh's quarterback decision. Those are guarantees in life, right? Mike Sobrowski says, agreed, Jeremy Turner. Grant Canfield, Michigan has no classes. Casey Brown says, I just don't assume the staff always makes the right choice on who plays. Case in point, right tackle this year. Well, Casey, and I thought in the beginning of the year that it was Jawan Bushell-Beatty, A1, that John Runyon was going to compete with him for that job, but I really thought it was going to be Jawan. And then all of a sudden we see Nolan Aluzio just bust out in camp, late in camp, and compete. Late in camp, I was told he competed all camp, but I mean, in the beginning, even Tim Drevno mentioned Jawan and John. So I was a bit surprised to see Aluzio starting at right tackle. And then we saw, gradually, and now I believe it's Jawan's job for the rest of the year. So. Marcel Wood says, Michigan is going to make Penn State feel them in my Don Brown voice. Marcel, was it you that said we needed a call-in line or something? Because if you got a Don Brown voice, man, I need to hear this. Do a video of it and tweet it at me. Let's expand this show to several different platforms or ways. You guys, if you want now, you can do like a video comment. Just tweet them at me. Those would be fun. Or if you're on Snapchat. I don't really use Snapchat that much. I think it's abiggers81. If you're on Snapchat, go ahead and add me. Yeah, I'm picturing that right now, Marcel. Going to make Penn State feel them in my Don Brown voice. Well, these dudes got to go out there and be dudes, right? I mean, Chase Winovich is going to be a dude Saturday. If you guys watch the interview on my channel with Chase, another classic. I'm going to miss Chase. When his time at Michigan is through, he is a great interview. By far, one of the most personable and just, it exudes personality. You could tell that Chase is loving life and he's feeling good. Rhonda says, hello, Rhonda. Brett R. says, I think the absence of Jedd Fisch has hurt more than expected. Brett, I mean, that's a valid. I don't want to say complaint because I don't think you're complaining. That's a valid point. I can tell you this, that Wilton Speight had a really good relationship with Jedd Fisch. I believe John O'Corn, Jedd Fisch had recruited John before. He had prior knowledge when Jedd was at Miami. John was at St. Thomas Aquinas in Florida. I believe they were pretty close as well. And I'm not saying it, but it is different with Jedd. Jedd was a different kind of guy. Pep is very business. Very business. I remember asking Wilton Speight back, I think it was back spring game, and then over the summer and stuff, and it wasn't like an immediate just bond as far as, like friend, like it was with Jedd. It was very much a professional tone, professional relationship with Pep Hamilton. Different types of coaches. I don't know who at Penn State. I don't know if Penn State has. I think Michigan has classes. I don't know if Penn State doesn't. Tim Beck, Ben Mason's interviews. Tim, did you see the one with Ben? I remember this was a few weeks ago. I was asking him He said something about he's not afraid of anything, and I was like, I believe you. Or I said, have you ever been afraid of anything in your life? And he goes, nah. And I said, I believe you. We just we laughed, and Ben just walked by me. It was yeah, Ben Mason, definitely. That's a dude. Ben Mason's a dude. CJ Mike 1024 says you'll miss Chase, but we still got Ben Mason for a while. Absolutely, CJ. I apologize for the background noise, guys. The garbage truck's going by. Jeremy Turner says phone line, but not during work hours. My boss won't go for that. Hey, tell your boss it's all right, Jeremy. Jan Stein von Squidmarstein. Did I pronounce that right? Penn State has something to fight for given the beatdown last year. Rhonda says Michigan is 1-17 as a dog. Only win was Northwestern. That's a good stat, Rhonda. It's a very good stat. We're going on 31 minutes, guys. It's been kind of real casual. I like today's pace. Tatenda Zanyemba says we definitely need a call line. I agree, but until we get that, guys, if you got snap a video comment or video comment on Twitter or something, I'll put them on the Sports in the Mitten Facebook page. A little bit more things fan interaction, and plus I have to hear this, especially if Marcel can nail Don Brown. Marcel, how often you go to Ann Arbor, man? If you can nail a Don Brown impression, I'll hook you up with some free Mr. Spots. Gotta do the video, and you gotta nail it. And if you don't already have a mustache, go find one. Go make one out of a boot brush. Don Brown's mustache is one of those boot brushes, man, just thick as hell. Just he's got the dude stash. Casey Brown says, think Kareem Walker needs more carries. Seems to be a good one cut back like Higdon. Kareem will get in there. I mean, he was always kind of the fourth back. He was always the fourth back. So I thought we'd see more of him. And there was a knee issue. I'm not sure if he's still banged up or what. But yeah, he did look good on that one carry. And I'll go back to what Harbaugh said during Big Ten Media Days back in late July, that Kareem was their best in between the tackles runner. So better at power and gap running, says Casey. CJ Mike 1024 says, do you think we will see Kareem Walker on Saturday? That's a good question. I think right now it's feed the beast, and that beast right now is Karan Higdon. So I imagine that and it probably a lot rides on defensive scheme and everything. I mean, Penn State's going to be looking out. I mean, who knows who? And that kind of goes to back to my point. Who really knows which Michigan running back is going to have a big game? I mean, Ty Isaac, had a couple big games. Ty's unanimous number one, and then he struggles, fumbles, and people are Ty Isaac sucks. Chris Evans, has a big game, and then tones down a little bit. It's the guys are up and down as far as who's going to be that, but it's still the same every week. Michigan, I feel like, is still getting decent rushing on a weekly basis. J.M. Coney, Mr. Spots must be delicious. My son eats there every day. I wish I could, J.M. Coney. They used to cater the Monday press conferences, but that's no longer. I want to try to I'll lobby Michigan to reinstate that. But the press conferences are in the Towsley Museum, so I don't think they want a bunch of sloppy reporters. Well, I don't know if everybody. I'm sloppy. I'll say that I'm a sloppy eater. I go in there with a bag on Tuesday nights, just eating it on the steps. But yeah, if I could eat Mr. Spots every day, I would. True story. So Marcel Wood says, I'm flying home from the Minnesota game. I live in Atlanta right. Dang it, Marcel. We'll still do the video. And if you're ever in Michigan, then I'll put Mr. Spots on reserve for you. I got to see the Don Brown voice. Got to hear it. I'll work on, I don't know how I'm wondering if there is a way to have a live call-in. I'm not a tech guy. If anybody knows, where's Wes Weber when you need him? I don't know where Wes is today. That's probably a question I'll ask him. He's pretty good with tech stuff. I'm wondering if there's a way that you could call in. So, any other questions today, guys? Marcel says, what do you think about Michigan using Chris Evans as a halfback, trying to get him in open space? I like that idea. And, I mean, look at the way that, to stretch a defense, I think it helps when the other team knows, like, okay, this running back is probably, going to be involved in some kind of pass. I mean, and that's the threat, right? I mean, because you already know that Saquon's going to run. But when you see him lined up, to Trace McSorley's left, you're like, okay, he's coming out, a little short route out of the backfield. You always have that in the back of your mind. So if Michigan can kind of maybe do that with Chris Evans against Penn State's defense, I mean, I don't know. I don't think Chris is as big of a threat in that regard. I mean, Chris is a threat in space. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, how many guys are Saquon Barkley level threats? Not many. So MIC Book says, just looks like Curtis Samuel for Ohio State last year. Jeremy at Marcel says, I was thinking a little bit of a slot. He's shifty. He is shifty. That's Chris has it. And Chris put on some weight too. So I mean if you remember last year, guys, what was kind of the knock on Chris Evans? That he wasn't necessarily running through contact. He wasn't a guy who was going to break a tackle. I think he can do that a little bit now. J.M. Coney says, do you think the 3-3-5 defense is better than the 4-3? Well, that's an open-ended question. It depends on the scenario. I like 4-3. I'm not really, I don't, the 3-3-5, I mean, is more like to defend spread offense anyway, right? So I mean, it depends. But I mean, I'm a regular kind of guy. 4-3, 3-4. There's all different. I'm a fan of defenses that work. Put it that way. Tatenda Zinyemba says, I feel like the great defense of college football is slightly underappreciated compared to great offense. Well, yeah, and I think a lot of people in the college game, what sells college football, I think, is a big, Heisman quarterback, guy who's going to throw for 1,000,000 yards, and this team's going to score a ton of points, and look at this 100-yard a game, running back and that kind of, offense is I think, a big selling point in terms of just overall image of college football. I mean, watch like a Big 12 game or something like that, or see like Baylor, Texas Tech, those kind of teams just put up a ton of points. Mike Leach at Texas Tech. I mean, Nicholas Rose says, why is Michigan trying to run Evans between the tackles so much? I think that's probably the play call, and they saw a reason to. That one's kind of a layered question, Nicholas. Not easy to answer. Depends on scenarios. Brett R says, agreed to Tenda unless you're Alabama. Marcel Wood says, I think the 3-3-5 has more speed because you could play Furbush or another safety, in my opinion. And again, it's all about personnel, the team, matchups. What works well against one team might not always work well against another. Bucky Moto says, can one of you reporters ask why we never use the final 2 minutes of the first half to create a drive? Always go into coast mode. That's a valid question too, because right prior to halftime against Indiana, I think you probably had a shot with Quinn Nordine. You get to the 30-yard line and your 35-yard line. I mean, maybe even further. You get basically across midfield. And, get a first down real quick, and you have Quinn Nordine in field goal range. So that's a good question. Write it down. I want it to be asked, pretty please. This happened 4-6 games this season. Bucky Moto. I got you, Bucky. I'll ask that. Leoism says, late, but I'm here. Leo, we are going on 40 minutes, man. Getting ready to shut it down for the day. Yeah, no problem, Bucky Moto. But, Leo, if you have any questions, go ahead. We've talked a lot. If you want to scroll up. Thoughts on University of Michigan basketball recruiting, Leoism. I mean, I like the way that John Beilein recruits. I'll get into full previews today, or not today. Full previews as the season approaches. Might do them this week. I might do like a Michigan just only Michigan basketball, and then only Michigan State basketball, or just combine the two full previews and kind of and then do a Big Ten preview on the side, something like that. But yeah, we'll definitely talk a lot of basketball. If you guys don't know already, I do cover both Michigan and Michigan State basketball, so lots of college hoops, lots. If Michigan wins, who has the big game? Well, I mean, it's got to be. I think it's got to be defensively dominated game. If Michigan wins, I would say I'm looking at a guy like Rashawn Gary, Devin Bush, Khaleke Hudson. I think those guys are going to be, Mo Hurst. I mean, everybody on defense, I guess. But I mean, I think Devin Bush, Khaleke are going to be real big in this. I think that Rashawn's going to be real big in this too. So not only for what he can do, but the amount of attention that he's going to command, and we might see other guys, Mo Hurst. I mean, not might, we probably will. Mo Hurst, Chase Winovich, Brian Monet, those guys getting in the backfield. So, because everybody focuses their attention on Rashawn, and rightfully so, because if you don't pay attention to Rashawn Gary, he's going to make you wish that you did. So, that's kind of the thing. First offensive play for Michigan will be a false start. You heard it here first, Rhonda. Or we heard it here first. Rhonda says that. You're so optimistic, Rhonda. Bucky Moto says, haven't watched much Penn State this year, enjoying late, but Trace just throw the ball up when he scrambles and running back read option goes away. No, he doesn't just throw it. I mean, his style, he's a gunslinger, man. I mean, yeah, okay, yeah, he probably does some. I don't think it's just, okay, I'm going to throw it up like you're playing 500 in the backyard or something. But, I mean, he does. I mean, he chucks it. He knows he's got receivers who can go get it, though. We talked a lot about the wide receivers during yesterday's podcast. I mean, I really like Deshaun Hamilton. He's got a great tight end, Mike Gesicki, too. So, I mean, if you're Trace McSorley, you can kind of confidently say, okay, go get it, guys. I'm going to throw it, go get it. But I don't think he's just, like, haphazardly tossing it. He's got a pretty good completion rate. I don't know stats offhand, but I'm venturing. I bet he's got one of the top 4 completion rates in the Big Ten. Couple final questions, guys. MIC book. My game ball is going to Chase if the Wolverines win. Chase is from Pennsylvania. Khaleek's from Pennsylvania. These guys really want this one. Marcel Wood said, "Are you saying Michigan defense needs a pick 6? Yes. Also, do you think Penn State offensive line plays Michigan like MSU? I don't know if just a pick 6. I mean, the pick 6, some kind of fumble recovery for a touchdown. I do think the Michigan's defense is going to have to score points somehow. As far as do I think Penn State's offensive line plays Michigan like MSU's offensive line? I mean, that'd be a good model to follow. I thought that Michigan State's D-line was pretty decent against Michigan's O-line. Am I reading that right? Do you think Penn State offensive line plays Michigan? So Penn State's offensive line versus Michigan's defensive line? Yeah, I would follow what Michigan State... Or wait, no, I'm crossing them up. Offensive line. So Michigan State's offensive line against Michigan. You got me confused, Marcel. Tatenda Zinyemba says, what's the hype about the whiteout? I mean, it's just, teams do that. They're just wearing all white there. It's a night environment. They're hoping, probably something like 7. I cannot stand that song anymore. Just, God, every time I hear it, even just like if a college band starts playing the drum, the beat, I can't stand it. 7 Nation Army, just can't stand it. So you're going to have to deal with all that in a whiteout in Beaver Stadium at night. It's an intimidating environment. So, I mean, it is loud, but I think it was Mo Hurst said that Penn State's actually his second favorite, one of his favorite. Of course, he loves playing at Michigan, but he said he really likes playing at Penn State because of the environment, because it is loud. So, Leoism says, thoughts on David Long playing big this week? He's getting better each week, especially in coming up for run defense blitzing. Yeah, David Long, and I'm trying to remember the play because I think he had a sack against Indiana. If I'm remembering correctly, I'm trying to remember the play. David Long has just been on a constant incline. David Long is going to be a great defensive back for the Wolverines. I mean, I know, Lavert Hill, was getting a lot of the attention, I guess, in camp, and Lavert was really the only guy. I remember Mike Zordish saying this, Lavert was the guy who was the most consistent. Everybody else, and I mean, David Long has answered in a big way. Jeremy Turner, Lavert Hill was committed to Penn State at one time. He should have a little motivation. Yes. Khaleke Hudson was too. Marcel Wood says Penn State O-line will not double team Gary or Hurst because you will give them the other one free shot to the quarterback. Well, I mean, it's Marcel. Do you agree though? It's a damned if they do, damned if they don't thing. I mean, if you don't double Rashawn, you're gonna wish that you did. If you do double them, then you're gonna be like, oh well, like what you just said, open lane for Mo or Chase or Brian, or even a guy like Devin Bush come in there and just, you know, it's gonna. Thoughts on trick plays from U of M this weekend? I don't think there will be any. I don't think there will be any. Jim Harbaugh's more of a like, and I don't want to even call it like a trick. Mark D'Antonio will pull out the bag of tricks, right? Jim Harbaugh will like do something to like screw with your mind, you know, like the train formation or something, or I'm trying to remember the intent to deceive, you know, those kind of things. Not necessarily tricks, but I mean just like there's got, you know, the kind of stuff that makes you really think. And you know, it's not so much like he comes out and you're like, oh well, Michigan's running a trick play, or you know, you expect Michigan. It's going to be something along those lines where it's you know, kind of like one of those just mind benders a little bit. All right, guys, I'm going to end the show. Marcel's comment says, right, MSU played straight up. You're talking about Michigan's offensive line against Michigan's defensive line, correct? I got all twisted on that one. Guys, I want to, Brett R. is Rashawn 100%? I believe he is, yes. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it as always. Thanks, Bucky. Thanks, Marcel, Jeremy, Brett R., Leoism. Those are just the comments I can see right now. Thanks for watching, guys. I had a good time today. Follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. Follow the podcast at Mitten Sports MI. Search on Facebook, Sports in the Mitten. Like, share, subscribe my YouTube channel, and read all my stuff on fanragsports.com. I'll be at Michigan State, Indiana this weekend, and but I'll have some more on Michigan tomorrow. I haven't decided what I'm going to have kind of, I gathered a lot of stuff, and I'm just kind of deciding on what I want to write about. So I'll have something up tomorrow. New on FanRag Sports, but for today, check out the piece that I posted, and it is Michigan's defense basically has to have performance of the year against Penn State. We talked a lot about that during this podcast, so go ahead and read that, fanragsports.com at fanrag_u, and as always, I want to thank Tim and Keith at Mr. Spots in Ann Arbor, keeping me fed when I am down there. I had spots twice this week, so I need it. I wouldn't mind every day. I forgot who said that. But if you're eating Mr. Spots every day, that's a good week, I think. So again, I want to thank those guys. 808 State Street in Ann Arbor, MrSpots.com, and don't forget home games. Closest prediction, or if you're dead on without going over, and you tweet it at me, and you're the first one. You know, if the score is 28-14, and you and another guy or another girl, person, anybody tweets the same one, the first one wins, obviously. So. Get the score dead on or in the ballpark without going over and closest to, and we'll hook you up with a free half chicken or half steak sandwich at Mr. Spot. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll do another one tomorrow, Friday, lunch, and I'll probably have some kind of game reaction Saturday to Michigan State in Indiana, and something on Sunday with Michigan and Penn State. I'm going to be at the game there, and then I'll be watching Michigan and Penn State. So it's going to be a full weekend for me. So thanks again for watching. I'll talk to you next time.